the Falkland Islands. The Falkland Islands are a British overseas territory located in the South Atlantic Ocean. The archipelago known as the Falkland Islands is made up of about 740 to 780 islands of various sizes, the largest of which are East Falkland and West Falkland. It lies just northeast of the southern tip of South America, north of the Antarctic Peninsula. The capital city, more of a large town of Stanley, lies on East Falkland. While the United Kingdom runs the Falkland Islands foreign affairs, they are a self-governing territory, which means there is a Falkland Islands government responsible for internal regulation. The Falkland Islands were named after Falkland Sound, which is the channel between the two main islands. The common Spanish name for the islands is Islas Malvinas.
How to visit the Falkland Islands. Ice-strengthened polar ships. That's the short and pithy response to wanderlusters asking how to visit the Falkland Islands. Many, certainly most of the people I know who've traveled there, do so while on expedition ships en route to the Antarctic Peninsula led by seasoned polar expedition guides. Cork Expeditions is one such operator. In fact, Cork Expeditions has been taking travelers to the polar regions exclusively since 1991 and offers many Falkland Island tours including the 20-day Falklands, South Georgia and Antarctica, Explorers and Kings Expedition. The Falkland Islands, pronounced /FLKLND/ Spanish, Islas Malvinas, are an archipelago in the South Atlantic. Ever since the re-establishment of British rule in 1833, Argentina has claimed sovereignty. In pursuit of this claim, which is rejected by the islanders, Argentina invaded the Falkland Islands in 1982. This precipitated the 2-month-long undeclared Falklands War between Argentina and the United Kingdom and resulted in the defeat and withdrawal of the Argentine forces. It is currently a nation of the United Kingdom. Atlantic Ocean, located about 250 nautical miles, 460 kilometers, 290 miles, from the coast of mainland South America. The archipelago, consisting of East Falkland, West Falkland and 776 lesser islands, was formerly a self-governing British overseas territory. The capital Stanley is on East Falkland along with the second city Darwin, and the fourth city Port Louis, which contains the largest francophone community in the east. There are cities in the west as well, Fox Bay and Port Howard, county seat of East Falkland, later Howard Pebble, 3rd and 5th, respectively. Since the war, the referendum on integration was carried out, and in 1992, 10 years after the war began, the islands were declared a nation of the UK. The military protection of the islands is currently controlled by the British Armed Forces and a small local force made up of the police of the islands and armed volunteers. After integration, the islands began a period of economic revolution making profits from oil, timber, gas, fishing, and banking. The Falkland Islands, why this Argentine archipelago is British territory. Imagine a small piece of Britain located thousands of miles away, not in Europe, but off the coast of Argentina. This surprising fact hints at a deep history and political tug-of-war. For many, it seems odd that a territory so geographically distant from the United Kingdom would remain under its rule. These are the Falkland Islands, known in Argentina as the Islas Malvinas, strategically positioned in the South Atlantic Ocean. This peculiar placement raises a central question for many observers: why do these islands, so close to South America, continue to fly the British flag? Their status sparks ongoing debate, historical claims, the long-standing sovereignty dispute, the crucial role of self-determination, and the ongoing relationships between the islands, the UK, and Argentina. Understanding these factors provides clarity on this unique geopolitical puzzle. Historical roots of the British claim. European nations first showed interest in the Falkland Islands during the 18th century. Several powers laid claim to these remote lands, setting the stage for centuries of disagreement. Their early presence created a tangled web of ownership claims. French and Spanish presence. French explorers first settled Port Louis on East Falkland in 1764. This marked the earliest European presence on the islands. Soon after, Spain bought this French settlement. Spain then asserted its control over the entire archipelago, claiming it as part of its vast colonial empire. British naval presence and discovery. British expeditions also explored the islands. In 1690, a British captain claimed discovery of West Falkland. Later, in 1765, the British established their own base at Port Egmont. They based their claim on this early discovery and their initial, though not continuous, presence. British settlement and administration. The period of consistent British settlement began in the early 19th century. Britain worked to establish stable governance and a settled population. This long-term presence became a key part of their claim. The 1833 British reassertion of control. Argentina briefly set up a small military post on the islands. However, in 1833, British forces forcibly removed Argentine officials. Britain has governed the islands continuously and without a break since that time. This date is critical to the British claim of long-term rule. Development of island economy and society. Under British rule, the island's economy grew, largely centered on sheep farming. This industry became the backbone of local life. Over many generations, a distinct island society formed, deeply rooted in British traditions and values. They built schools, churches, and a system of local government. The Argentine counterclaim and sovereignty dispute. Argentina strongly disputes British ownership of the Falkland Islands. Their claims trace back to their independence from Spain. This long-standing disagreement, known as the Malvinas question, remains a core issue for the nation. Post-colonial assertions of Argentine sovereignty. After breaking from Spain, Argentina asserted its rights over territories inherited from the former Spanish viceroyalty of the Rio de la Plata. They saw the Falkland Islands as part of this inheritance. This formed the basis of their claim. Leveraging geographical proximity. Argentina argues its claim based on the island's close geographical location to its mainland. They cite the principle of uti possidetis juris, a legal concept from colonial times. This idea suggests that new nations should inherit the boundaries their colonial rulers held. To Argentina, this means the islands belong to them.
The Malvinas question in Argentine national identity. The Malvinas question deeply affects Argentina's national feeling. It is a key part of their history books and public memory. For many Argentines, regaining the islands remains a significant national goal and a matter of pride. The United Nations and the sovereignty debate. International bodies, especially the United Nations, have played a role in trying to mediate this dispute. The UN has recognized the complex nature of the situation. UN decolonization mandate. The United Nations placed the Falkland Islands on its list of non-self-governing territories. The UN passed resolutions urging the UK and Argentina to hold talks. These talks aim to find a peaceful and lasting solution to the sovereignty issue. The principle of self-determination. The concept of self-determination became a cornerstone of the island's status. This principle means that a people have the right to freely decide their own political future. For the Falkland Islanders, this right became extremely important in how their status evolved. The Falklands War of 1982. The simmering dispute over the Falkland Islands exploded into open conflict in 1982. This short but intense war had lasting impacts on both nations and the islands. The Argentine invasion and British response. The conflict began swiftly and unexpectedly. Tensions had been rising, but few predicted a full-scale military action. The world watched as events unfolded rapidly. April 2, 1982, the invasion. On April 2, 1982, Argentine forces launched a surprise attack and seized the Falkland Islands. They quickly overpowered the small British Marine contingent stationed there. This military action marked the start of the Falklands War. The British task force and recapture. Britain responded by sending a large naval task force thousands of miles across the Atlantic. After fierce battles by air, sea, and land, British forces successfully recaptured the islands. Argentine troops surrendered on June 14, 1982, ending the conflict. The aftermath and impact on sovereignty. The war profoundly shaped the future of the Falkland Islands. It hardened the resolve of both sides and changed their relationship forever. The consequences of the conflict resonated for decades, strengthening British resolve and identity. The 1982 war greatly strengthened Britain's commitment to the islanders. It affirmed their right to decide their own future. This conflict made the UK's bond with the islands even stronger than before. Impact on UK-Argentina relations. The Falklands War led to a long and deep strain in relations between the United Kingdom and Argentina. Diplomatic ties were cut for many years. Trust between the two nations fell to an all-time low. The principle of self-determination, the islanders' voice. The wishes of the people living on the Falkland Islands are central to their current status. Their clear voice has been heard through a recent, significant event, the 2013 referendum, a clear mandate. The islanders held a crucial referendum to express their desires regarding their political future. This democratic exercise sought to provide a definitive answer to the sovereignty question from their perspective. Overwhelming support for British status. In 2013, the Falkland Islanders held a vote on their political fate. An overwhelming 99.8% of voters chose to remain a British overseas territory. This near-unanimous result left no doubt about their preference. International recognition of the outcome. Many countries around the world acknowledged the outcome of the referendum. They saw it as a clear and legitimate expression of the islanders' wishes. This vote underscored the strength of the self-determination principle on the global stage. Daily life and identity of the Falkland Islanders. Life on the Falkland Islands reflects a strong connection to Britain. The islanders have developed a unique way of life, built on their environment and heritage. Their identity is clearly tied to their British status. Economic ties and governance. The islands thrive on key industries such as fishing, tourism, and scientific research. They maintain a system of self-governance, managing many of their own affairs. This local administration operates under the broader framework of the United Kingdom. Cultural affiliation and aspirations. Falkland Islanders possess a strong cultural bond with the United Kingdom. They embrace British customs and traditions in their daily lives. Their desire to keep their British status guides their political and personal aspirations. The ongoing dispute and future prospects. Despite the clear wishes of the islanders, the sovereignty dispute continues. Both Argentina and the UK maintain firm stances on the matter. Argentina's persistent claim. Argentina has not dropped its claim to the Falkland Islands. The issue remains a core part of its foreign policy and national pride. The country consistently seeks international support for its position. Diplomatic efforts. Argentina continues to use diplomatic channels, often through the United Nations, to highlight its claim. They seek to gather international backing for negotiations over the islands. This ongoing pressure keeps the Malvinas question alive on the global agenda. Continued assertion of Malvinas identity. The islands remain a deeply emotional subject in Argentine public life. Maps often show them as Malvinas Argentinas, and the claim is taught in schools. The UK's position, defending the islanders' rights. The United Kingdom's position on the Falkland Islands is firm and clear. Their policy is primarily driven by their commitment to the islanders themselves. Commitment to self-determination. The UK maintains that the wishes of the Falkland Islanders are paramount. Britain will only consider changes to the island's status if the islanders freely agrees to that.
The question of why the Falkland Islands off Argentina's coast belong to the UK involves a deep, complex history. Both Britain and Argentina have laid historical claims, dating back centuries. Each side presents compelling arguments for ownership. However, the 1982 Falklands War proved a decisive moment. It tragically brought the sovereignty dispute to a head, but also solidified the islanders' right to self-determination. This principle became the most important factor in their current status. The islanders voted nearly unanimously to remain a British overseas territory. This clear expression of their wishes cannot be ignored. While the diplomatic dispute over the Falkland Islands persists, the unwavering right of the islanders to determine their own future remains the central reason they continue as a UK overseas territory today. Their voice shapes their destiny.